So this is Bo, our female Egyptian vulture. You may have seen her flying in the Valley of the Eagles demonstration throughout the summer. Hello. She's looking a bit wet today. We've had a horrible day of rain, and at the moment she's actually in rest period, so she gets a bit of time off from the demonstrations, and I'm just giving her exercise in that time to keep her fitness up, and trying a few new things with her. So I thought it'd be quite nice to see if we can enhance on one of her natural abilities, which is to feed on ostrich eggs in the wild, which they're very good at doing by naturally picking up stones, rocks, anything that they think that could break the shell of an egg. And I've been doing a little bit of work with Bo since we've had her here over the last few years, of having a go at sort of trying to enhance on this natural behaviour and learning to pick something up and throw it at an egg in order to crack it. Because basically in the wild, an ostrich egg, as we know, is incredibly large, and it's too thick for her to be able to either break with her beak or her feet, but not too thick for her to be able to break with something heavy, i.e. a rock or a stone. So we can start some of this process off by working with a simple chicken egg to start with. Normally use quite a large one, just to try and get this sort of motion of picking something up and throwing it. We've got a few stones here that sometimes she'll pick up. So naturally she's quite an inquisitive bird, and I've got to the stage where I can get her to pick a stone up and then reward her for picking it up. So this is something that they'll sort of learn in the wild, really, normally by watching other vultures, and they learn that in order to get the food out of the egg, the yolk or the young chick out of the egg, they need to be able to pick something up to break it. So, and they're very good at watching other birds do things as well. So obviously here we haven't got another Egyptian vulture that she can watch and learn from, so it's a case of positive reinforcement training, which is what we do with a lot of the birds when we're working with them. So in the early stages, when she picked a rock up like that, I'd give her a reward immediately. Okay, so every time she picks it up, she gets a little reward, and she knows that, hey, if I pick that rock up again, I'm going to get a reward from him. So it's just been really methodical in making sure that when she does exactly the right behaviour, she gets a reward for it. Now we're at the stage where I'd like to see if she can break this chicken egg by picking it up and getting the yolk from the inside. So what she'll probably do is pick it up, there we go, and get that sort of reaction. So it was just to show you the sort of background of the training there, but now she knows that when she picks something up, in order to get the reward, she's got to break it. And on this wet, soft ground, even throwing I've picked quite a large chicken egg, so hopefully it doesn't break so easily. She's going to struggle to get to that without taking it somewhere hard enough to break it. So she can either use available stones and rocks that I've got littered around the enclosure to throw at the egg to break them. It's a bit of trial and error for her. Or what she might do, this is the first time I've tried it with her actually, with a chicken egg, what she might be able to do is pick the egg up and hit the rock with it, or take it somewhere around the aviary, which she's clever enough to do. Are you going to try that? Wouldn't that be good if you flew up there now? If she could fly up to a log or to one of the rocks around the aviary and drop it on something hard so it splits open. So I have in the past fed her on eggs like this and just broken them up, so she knows that, you know, there's yolk inside and there's food for her. And as far as the training with the rocks and the egg are concerned, we had a few demonstration ostrich eggs that we've got in our African savannah arena just for show purposes, and I had a couple of spare ones that had cracks in them just so she could learn to pick up the rocks and break the egg, and I'd hide bits of food inside them. But we've run out of those now, and ostrich eggs are a bit hard to come by, so I'm just trying to work out other methods of showing this natural behaviour. So you're going to use them? Because there's some lovely food inside there for you. This is quite good actually. I wasn't sure whether the chicken egg would just break as soon as she picked it up and dropped it on the grass, but at the moment that wet ground is working in our favour, isn't it? So she's got to use her brain now and try and work this out. And you can see she's got that behaviour, but she hasn't quite worked out where she's got to hit it. I expect we'll probably get a bit of luck rather than judgment with this today. Did I hear a crack then? No. Go on, jump over that log. Oh, look at this, wow. Sit on there now, if she does it there. Go on. Yes! Very good. Now that is why vultures are regarded to be one of the most intelligent birds of prey alive. Simple, she gets the reward. I wasn't timing that, it was probably about 2 minutes worth of messing about with that. As I say, I fed her on chicken eggs before, but just cracked them open and she's just fed on the yolk there. And to actually have that problem to solve herself is brilliant. So I'm thinking that if we can maybe get hold of some goose eggs, something a little bit thicker and something that she can't get her beak round. I wasn't sure whether she'd be able to get her beak right round that and lift it up, but she obviously showed us that she could. I think that's probably about her limit on size, to be honest with you. But if I could get something a bit bigger like a goose egg that she can't actually physically get round in her beak, then she's going to have to use the rock option and pick the rock up and then hit the egg. So not quite as big as your ostrich egg, but as I say, they're a bit difficult to come by in Hampshire, England. So it's not something we could get a regular supply of. This is great little enrichment for her. It gets her to use her brain rather than her wings, which is normally where we're showing enrichment for her. In the summer months she's renowned for being one of our highest flyers. Some days going over 1,000, 2,000 foot in the air. Great enrichment, that flying, but you can enrich birds in lots of different ways, and this is really getting her to use her brain. And then when we're finished here, you can go and sit in the dry in your house with your heat lamp and dry off. This is a bit miserable, isn't it? There we go. I think you've pretty much had everything there. You can actually see whilst I'm doing this that this beak that these birds have got are just perfectly designed for that very reason. Long and slender, rather than your generic sort of large bill of most of the vulture species. These birds perfectly designed for getting in the tiny little nooks and crannies of a hole in an ostrich egg, which certainly wouldn't break apart like this chicken egg has. So sometimes it'll just be the rock that's cracked a tiny little hole, and she's got to get that long slender beak in a tiny hole. I'll show you this with a bit of food actually. I'll just make a hole in my finger there and put that through the other side. She'll be able to see the food, and she can just winkle in that tiniest gap there with that beak and just get all this food out of it. So that's what she'd do with an ostrich egg. Here we go. Smart, aren't you? Well done.